Hi again guys, and welcome to episode 1 of a brand new review series called, as you'll have seen of course from the title, Forget Your Warranty. And this series is for the vehicles which do just that. They, for the most part, would completely void any kind of manufacturer warranty that you get from your dealership, because these are for tuner cars. That is the purpose of this series. We're discussing aftermarket cars, purpose-built tuner cars, sometimes even competition spec tuner cars, such as this vehicle, the car which we're starting the series with, the HKS CT230R, based of course on the Mitsubishi Evo. And this was built not just as a general tuner car, not even as a street spec tuner car, but as a competition machine, specifically time attack. And what better place to bring this car for its review than Tsukuba, the home of time attack racing. Now, what do you get when you buy this car? Because you don't see that many people, certainly not as many people as you'd expect, using this car. On paper at least, it sounds like kind of a no-brainer to go for. For a start, it's an Evo, which is already a strong performance car, but then you turn it into a track-only competition time attack, no less, race car with extreme performance, ultra lightweight, a crazy body kit, and the ability to, unlike many other competition machines, have all-wheel drive and NOS. And that sounds like a pretty obvious choice to go for, and yet you don't see very many people at all driving this car. It certainly does have fans, but not as many as you might expect. And it's an interesting car, because it's actually a bit more different to a normal Evo than you might expect. Now, this car in real life held, I believe, a couple of lap records. I don't know if it still holds them, but I know it set a couple of extremely quick time attack lap records when it was first produced, and was pretty much the fastest time attack car you could get when it was released. Now, the price on the game is a pretty reasonable 260 grand. Now, for a tuner car, 260 grand sounds like a lot, but you have to bear in mind, although technically this is kind of a tuner car because it's a modified version of an existing production car, it's actually more of a race car, just it doesn't run in a normal series, it runs in time attack. So 260 grand for a vehicle like that is actually not bad at all. That's roughly the same kind of price that you'd expect from an Evo rally car, if not less than an Evo rally car. So the value for money is potentially very good. Now, the engine is larger than a normal Evo. The normal Evo is a 2-litre turbo, this car is a 2.2-litre turbo. As far as power, it's not necessarily as powerful as it looks. It looks like the kind of thing that would probably have 800 or 900 horsepower, something akin to kind of a Pikes Peak car. It actually doesn't have that kind of power. It does have more power than the Evo production and rally cars though, at 647 horsepower fully tuned and 538 foot-pounds of torque. Now, in an Evo, that would already be good, but combine that with the fact that this is significantly lighter than pretty much any other modern Evo in the game at 1,068 kilos, and you've got yourself a potential track monster. And as real life shows, it is a track monster, setting numerous records. Now, as far as horsepower per tonne, it puts out 606, which is not bad given the power, and the PP is actually not as high as you might think. Being all-wheel drive, a competition spec machine, Japanese, an Evo, and a variety of other things, you'd probably expect the PP to be very high, something akin to a Pikes Peak machine. It's actually not. In fact, it's no way near that kind of PP. It sits fully tuned and a much more reasonable and actually highly usable 606 PP. And I would say that is actually pretty amazing for this car given how quick it is. Off the line, the fact that it's all-wheel drive, powerful and has NOS means that it can outlaunch most other competition spec cars on the game. For top-end performance, it's not that strong though. The top speed struggles once you get up around 180, but at the end of the day, it's not that kind of car. You'd never put an Evo like this logically up against something like a GT machine on tracks which require top-end performance. It's just not that kind of car. So for acceleration, it's as good, if not better, than you'd expect. For top speed, it pretty much is what you'd expect. So the question is, what about the handling? Because some all-wheel drive cars can be a little bit temperamental, very twitchy depending on setup. They can either be extremely heavy or slightly unpredictable. So how does this car fare? Well, I would say overall it fares very well. It does require a bit more specific setup person to person depending on your personal driving style and what suits you, but overall it's a very good handling car. It has a ton of grip regardless of what tyres you use. The fact that it has a wider track than most other Evos with that wide body kit means that its centre of gravity feels lower, it feels more planted, there's less body roll in corners, and it allows the steering to be even more neutral than the Evo already is. Combine that with the fact that it's running less weight than your average Evo, and although it has a lot of power, it doesn't have an insane amount of power. It actually has enough power to get the job done, but it means that at the same time you're not having to fight against that power. So overall the package actually works extremely well, and it's not surprising that it's as quick as it is in real life. So for an overall package, it's not an obvious choice of competition spec machine, and there are some people in online lobbies which may not allow you to use it. But in situations where you are allowed to, for say anything between 525 and potentially 600 pp racing on the right track, especially tight twisty tracks such as here at Tsukuba, it's a very interesting and actually highly viable alternative to a typical race car. And overall, even though we're starting with this car, I would say that it's actually one of the strongest cars overall of this entire series. But that's it overall for this first episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.